down, 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 down. Bam, 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 bam. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is written by Phil Lord and Rodney Rothman. Yeah, Phil Lord, the guy that was going to do the solo movie. Release the Lord cut. Sorry, I'm still on that thing. My gosh, it's on topic. It's superheroes. Give me a break. It's freaking awesome, though. It's directed by Bob Perry-Shetty, Peter Ramsey, and Rodney Rothman. The movie also voice stars a lot. So, Into the Spider-Verse. Anybody else get a Princess and the Frog type feel when they saw the trailer for this? I know the animation is different, and this may or may not be considered to be a cartoon, but you know, these days it's different seeing these hand-drawn inspired type animations in theaters. I mean, it took me watching the actual film to be like, oh, that's different. This movie was suggested by one of my fans, Mihovil Koncurat, and I know this is out of order. There are other suggestions that I gotta do. I was touched by this particular subscriber who reached out to me and wanted me to review his brother's favorite movie, being this. I don't know, family gets me. Which is why I don't want to just dedicate this review to Mihovil Koncurat's brother, but also to family. To you guys, my viewers. We're a family, sort of. You know, the type of family where we're totally aware of each other, but we rarely talk to one another. So it's like a family of cats. But I really wouldn't put it past most families that just is sometimes the way it is. I'm just glad you're here. Anyways, what did I think about this movie? Characters. Tell me if you guys feel the same way, but I have a tough time connecting with animated characters. Like, they have to be incredibly well realized in order for us to get off on the right foot. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Disney, Studio Ghibli, anime, many of the other classics. I just struggle. And I'm happy to say that the characters in this movie got me invested. Miles Morales was actually someone I could really get behind. I, like many people, grew up on Peter Parker, so with this being awkward on two fronts, it being such a different animation and also being a less familiar character, that's really awesome. And we didn't just get one new Spider-Person, we got 6 new Spider-People, 4 of which are completely new. Yeah, I don't care what anybody says, Spider-Pig already got his movie. I could say something about all of them, but Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man. That's all you have to do! Genius. Animation. The animation is absolutely a highlight here. Yeah, it's like Promare meets Nightmare Before Christmas meets Pixar, except it's none of those. Yeah, this is one of a kind. I've never seen this kind of animation. Super cool to note. I did some research, and you know, this animation is clearly comic book inspired. I didn't actually try this, but supposedly the animators say that if you were to pause this at any particular moment, that still image would look like it came straight out of a comic book. I wonder, is Into the Spider-Verse on Disney+? It wouldn't be on Disney+. It's so neat. I'm gonna pull it up on my computer here in a second and check. It does. It does. Look at that. Look at that. Right there. It totally does. That's amazing. And it isn't just a gimmick either. They accomplished something pretty incredible here. When you're comparing a movie that is based off of a book to its corresponding book, the book is almost always better. And that's because you get, you know, more content and you get more insight into the character's thoughts. This movie kind of defeated that. I mean, I know that comic books are relatively short, but we'll give this movie a pass on content anyway. The real accomplishment here is with the character's thoughts. Yeah, those comic strips and comic books that, you know, usually tell you what the character is feeling or thinking, they appear throughout this movie. And they say appear because it isn't littered throughout the movie to the point of exposition vomit. No, it is so respectful of its audience. It only ever shows up if it can enhance the movie experience as opposed to compromising the movie experience. Freaking genius. Well done. And on top of that, the animation just looks gorgeous. Your Name, in my opinion, is still the best animation I've ever seen, but this, it seriously is a close second. Dialogue. You know, it's really easy to pay extra close attention to the dialogue here. Because I was going to say cartoons, but in any animation, you're automatically expecting it to be aimed toward kids. But no, I really paid attention here, and I almost immediately knew that this was written for everybody. I love how Miles calls his new school elitist rather than calling it just rich, because how many times have we heard that in movies, or at least in a lot of kids movies where they have to dumb it down to their level. We just are like, we've heard this before. We want to hear it. We just want to hear it said differently, intelligently, explicitly. Elitist is just a more explicit way of saying it, and I loved it. It's also a huge compliment to Miles's character's intelligence. Because say what you will, but we really haven't gotten a Spider-Man that draws much attention to their intelligence. Until now.
Story.
Okay, so some movies need multiple viewings. I had a tough time in the second half of this movie. Am I the only one? So I guess I had to think about this one for a little while, and it's really good to have someone watch the movie with you whose insight outweighs your pride. Yeah, I won't lie. I have a little bit of the old-fashioned critic mindset sometimes. Where a movie just has to have something wrong with it. It happened in Mad Max Fury Road, Interstellar, Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium. These are just a few examples of movies that were so perfect that I couldn't accept it. And I needed my spouse to help me figure out my feelings. She's someone I can ask questions to. And although this movie's script ain't perfect, it's about as good as we possibly could have asked for in another Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man movies have truly had rocky times, and this just simply isn't one of them. It wasn't bloated, self-indulgent, or Disneyfied. It just was a great Spider-Man movie. And in regards to my initial feelings, I have this thing where I struggle with the protagonist throwing a pity party about basically back at the bus bullcrap. There's a part in the movie where Miles wallows and he leaves because he doesn't have any powers and the other spider people are being mean to him. I don't know, maybe I'm just a heartless bunghole. Though I'm now able to validate his feelings by looking at his situation as a whole. I mean, for one, this was really frustrating for me at first, but he doesn't get his powers until the third act of the movie. End of the third act of the movie. And the reason why that bothered me so much is because of my expectations. Spider-Man is used up. Now I have an expectation. Like as if there are rules for a Spider-Man movie. This gave us something different. Something more intimate and thoughtful. To add compliment to healing, the movie is also pretty hilarious. I mean, you've got Nicolas Cage playing dark, angsty noir Spider-Man. It had better be funny.
That's all you have to do!
Lastly, have you ever wanted a huge, epic, high-intensity battle in a living room? Oh, and Aunt May is there and she participates? What? Yeah, it happens. It works, and it was great.
Predictability.
Yeah, you can't really tell where this movie's going, and it's not to a fault either. I mean, each of the 6 spider people are made relevant enough that, the movie essentially gives you 6 viable avenues for it to go. And even in the individual spider people arcs, I had a tough time pegging where this movie wanted to take me. It even hinted at a romance sparking, and I was like, ugh. And then it doesn't. Well, good for you. That hasn't happened in a Spider-Man movie. Speaking of surprises, boy does this movie have a twist! Freaking great. Not quite as good as the Vulture twist, but this was... What? It's crazy. It's so weird. You should expect it. At least a part of it. Because it's a recurring theme in Spider-Man movies. But the movie was just so good at covering its tracks and staying one step ahead of you that...
Moral.
It's going to seem insignificant to some people, but the one thing that stood out to me as a lesson came from a single line that one of the spider people gave, where they're visually laying out a comical hypothetical infiltration plan, and they assume that the target couldn't possibly be a woman. Then they find out that it is a woman, and they decide that they need to reevaluate their personal biases. Well done, movie! And this movie does tug at your heartstrings a little bit. A safe way to do that in movies is to focus it on family, which it does. Speaking of family, this is a great family watch. It's uplifting, it's enlightening, it's exciting, and it reminds me of you guys. Geesh, I'm sucking up more than Kirby from Brave Little Toaster. And from Super Smash Bros. I have no choice but to recommend this movie, guys. In fact, I'm putting Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse at number 170. So, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I've been meaning to get to this one, so thank you, Mihovil Koncurat and your brother, for nudging me in the right direction. Coming up next, I am tired of not doing terrible movies. I mean, the show is called MovieSlayer. Plus, the goal always was to do a favorite request, then a least favorite request, and alternate.
The universe must be balanced.
So, ladies and gentlemen, my next review is a suggestion from Nathan, and it is The Amazing Bulk. Don't recognize it? That's okay. No one does. There are reasons. Here they are. Nathan, who suggested this, didn't specify if it was a favorite movie request or a least favorite movie request. I digress. All I can say is I'm going to need to bounce back with Green Book. And that is going to be the next review as a favorite movie request from Audrey Rios and Rick Sakil. Or Sakili. I don't know. What is it? Help me, Rick. Either way, thank you for this. I'm going to need some healing. Anyways, guys, looking forward to that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell on the side. And I will see you next time on MovieSlayer. I'm even starting to look like a lumberjack.